Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Sarah, and if you're new here, you are most welcome, and hello and a warm welcome back to all the regular subscribers. Today's video is all about everything I made in my first year of sewing. So I started sewing at the end of January 2024. I took 4 classes, which accumulated to about 10 hours. And it started off with, very basic stuff, and then most of it is self-taught from YouTube videos. So I'm going to talk you through my progress in 1 year of sewing, and hopefully it might inspire you to dust off your sewing machine if you have one at home, or perhaps think about learning a new skill in 2025. That was my new skill to learn in 2024, and I'm so thrilled that I went ahead and got stuck in, and I had no idea that I would actually be making clothes for myself, pretty quickly. Now, not all of them are great, as you're going to see, but practice makes perfect. I gotta say, the thing that has helped me so much in my progress is understanding my body shape. I mean, when you start making clothes for yourself, understanding the nuances and uniqueness of your body shape is just priceless. When something looks like it was made just for you, there's nothing like it. And of course, the other thing is working with a color palette. So if you're making things for yourself, you're going out, you're buying fabric, and you're making choices from that very first moment of choosing a fabric, just like you would going into a shop. You have to know that it works for you, and you'll see throughout my clothes that I've made that there is a theme, a winter theme in my color palette. This is all stuff that I work with people online and in person. So if you're struggling with identifying your style, your body shape, your color palette, then get in touch. I work with people all over the world. And of course, you can find out more about my online courses down below. Streamline Your Style starts on January 27th. Don't miss out. Now let's get into it. So the very first thing I ever made on a sewing machine was in the class that I did, and it was with this fabric here. Now, I made a very simple envelope cushion cover, and I can't tell you how proud I was of myself that I turned a flat piece of fabric into something functional and beautiful that I did with my own hands. Now, I have since cut this fabric up, as you can see, because I made a little hairband for my niece. In the class, we were provided with fabric, so I didn't have much of a choice when it came to choosing from my color palette. It was really just about learning how to sew. So I knew I wasn't going to be using this fabric either to wear or in my home. So I said, you know what, this fabric would look great for my niece. So I made her a little hairband out of that. The other things that we did in the class was make these little pencil cases or cosmetic bags, and I ended up making a whole load of those. It was practice, practice, practice. The one I made in the class wasn't actually very good, but it was something very simple that I could try out at home. And I ended up making loads of these for friends and for gifts for people, and it was just a great way to get confident using the sewing machine. The last project we did in the class was an apron, and I liked how that turned out. Again, I didn't have so much of a choice in terms of fabric, but again, it was just practicing those skills. Then I was out in the world on my own, and what I did was I didn't have a sewing machine at home. So I was very kindly lent a sewing machine from my friend's mother. And that really helped, because I think had I left it, a long gap in between making something, I would have lost the skills, lost the confidence. And of course, I wouldn't have had that opportunity to practice. So that's when I started making things for myself, by myself. So the first thing I made for myself to wear was this pair of pajamas. They are incredibly wide because I was so scared of cutting off too much fabric and being too tight. And I was really doing a lot of guesswork here. When I look at the seams, they're just like, 2-inch seams. There's so much fabric in these. But the good news is, they're pajamas, they stay on my body, they do the job. It was also my first time to do a pocket, which I was very proud of. The pockets work. The only thing is that they were like quite far down my leg. But this is the thing, like you have to not be afraid to make mistakes. Not everything is going to work out perfect. And in fact, I can tell you, nothing of mine has worked out perfect, but I'm learning all the time. You learn through your mistakes, don't you? So you have to be able to say, you know what, they're not perfect, but I've learned something. It's a lesson for life, really, isn't it? Then it was time to challenge myself to something a little bit more sophisticated in style, and something that I said, you know what, I want to make something that I can walk out in the street in and be confident that it's not going to fall off my body. So that brings us to this first dress that I made, and it was self-drafted. People keep telling me, Sarah, I can't believe you're drafting your own patterns and just creating your styles yourself. If someone had told me that that was really advanced and difficult before I even knew that, I wouldn't have even tried. Ignorance is bliss sometimes. Sometimes when you don't know something is difficult, you give it a go. And I'm so glad I didn't know that I was doing something that was fairly advanced. But when you don't know, you don't know, and you just give it a go. And that's what I did. So I did that, and it worked out pretty well now since, I mean, looking back at this now, I can see the flaws and all the things that I would do differently. I mean, it's not lined, there's raw edges on the inside, but I made something with darts in the bust to fit my waistline, and I even put a zip in it. And although it's not ironed right now, that zip it's not bad. It's really not bad at all. And I did end up wearing this on holiday in Spain last year, and I was so thrilled that I had made it and I was wearing it. Although it's kind of a little bit crap now that I look back on it, I was so proud of it. For that holiday as well, it was all about summer dresses and simple items that I could make, you know, that didn't have sleeves. Sleeves really scared me. So I kept making things that were just, you know, wide skirts, and I did fitted bodices, which was pretty, you know, advanced, I would say, looking back at that now. So excuse the creases in these items. They've, you know, it's January and these have been in storage. But this dress was something that I was extremely proud of as well. And it's much better made than the previous dress. This is a full circle skirt, so it used quite a lot of fabric. And you know what? I lined the bodice. I put in, this is actually, this was my first princess seam in a bodice. And I mean, I looking back, you know, I wasn't doing too badly. I was probably sewing for maybe 2 months when I made this dress. And again, there's a zip in the back, and it's just, you know what, I felt really good in this. I love the color of it, the flow of the skirt when I moved. I really felt good in this. So I look forward to wearing that again this year. For that same holiday in Spain, I made another, well, I wouldn't call it a dress, it's a two-piece, so it's a top and a skirt. This is also a princess seam and fully lined, a zip in the back, and this was something I was really happy with as well. And it was the first time someone stopped me in the street and said, "Where did you get your outfit? I'd love to go find it and buy it." And I said, "Well, I made it." And it was the first time I could tell somebody that I made this. And I was so thrilled with myself. I'll remember that moment forever. I was so happy with how this turned out, how it fitted my body, how I felt in it. And then when that person said that to me, I was like, cherry on the cake. That was just so good for me. So again, I will absolutely wear this in the coming summer. So this is when things started to get really good. My confidence was up and I was challenging myself to do more things. So something I hadn't tried up until this point was buttons, you know, putting in a buttonhole and making sure everything was lined up properly. And that was something that really scared me. So this is another self-drafted pattern. So I wanted to make a waistcoat and a wide leg pair of trousers. The waistcoat I drafted myself, and the trousers were something I drafted off a pair of trousers that I already own. So I love the style of the trousers. They fit me on the waist. They were super wide leg. So that's how I created this outfit. And again, it's something I'm just so proud of. Looking back at like welt pockets and, you know, buttons that line up, and it was something, look at the back on that. I mean, I'm kind of amazed looking back at this myself. It's such a good reminder of how far you can come in just a year. At this stage, I was probably sewing maybe I'm going to say 6 months. And this fabric, by the way, came from a charity shop. It was a blanket or something to that effect. And I paid €5 for this huge volume of fabric. And I made something I could wear out of it. And I feel just really good in this. And actually waistcoats are something I want to make more of. So I'm definitely going to come back to that pattern. I still have the pattern, so I'll definitely try that again. But very, very proud of this. And then comes the neon. I mean, the color just makes me so happy. This project, it nearly broke my heart. I nearly threw the sewing machine out the window, but it was as simple as it is. I just wanted to make a maxi dress. It was just complicated and probably didn't need to be as complicated as I made it, but it was still wearable. It's just not my favorite. But I remember unpicking this a lot and re-sewing it, and just, it took a lot of time. But I mean, I did wear it in Turkey on my holiday, which was the aim. And, you know, I felt good in it. I still love the color, but it just wasn't my favorite item. I think I just put so much blood, sweat and tears into something that didn't turn out the best. It's not bad, it's still pretty good, but it just broke my heart, this one. So yeah, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with this one. Then I tried sleeves for the first time. So this was something I also self-drafted, and I saw this fabric, but when I saw it, I was like, ooh, that would make a great beach cover up or just like a layering item. I love this kind of coraled kind of print down the front of it, and the colors just were fabulous. It's very loose fitting, so I didn't have to worry about the fit too much. But this, actually, I really loved wearing this on vacation and back in Ireland as well, just over a black dress. I really like how that turned out, and my mum has actually borrowed it for her holidays as well. So you know it's good when your mum starts to borrow things that you've made. But that was just a really quite a simple project, but the thought that went into the placement of the patterns, I believe, made it come together into something special. Now I'm going to turn your attention over here to Tallulah, my mannequin, and this coat, which if you've been on my channel a while, you'll have seen this and heard me mention it a few times. So this was possibly one of my greatest makes to date, I would say. It was very challenging. It was my first time to do a set-in sleeve. It is fully lined. It has pockets, and I made this off of a pattern from the Great British Sewing Bee, but their version of it was a much shorter jacket, and also they didn't have wide lapels. The lapel kind of finished, you know, just in a straight line, kind of like that. So I made it my own. I knew that I wanted the pink kind of popping out. This piece I'm very proud of, and I get stopped all the time by random people commenting, you know, that where did I get the code? It's amazing. It's, you know, all of these things, and I just feel so good in it. It's such a showstopper. Like if I wear all black underneath and just pink and this black and white. Yeah, this one is pretty special to me. It's quite heavy, you know, it's got this fleece lining between the layers. I wear it quite a lot at the moment in the colder weather, so I am really proud of that one. Next up, it just makes me think about how much I've sewn in the last year. I've forgotten a lot of the things that I made. Actually, speaking of which, things that I don't have here in my collection because I made them for somebody else are the little baby rompers that I would have made for friends. So this baby romper was another pattern from the Great British Sewing Bee, and I loved how these turned out. And I gifted them to, I had two different ones, one in a kind of denim, one in a floral. I gifted them to friends, and oh, they just looked gorgeous on the babies. So I'll put photos in here. Hopefully I definitely have photos of one of them. And I made a matching headband to the floral one as well. But going back to things that I made for myself, this dress is another thing that I'm really proud of. I knew when I saw the fabric, I bought the fabric in Turkey, and it caught my eye. The colors were just beautiful. And when I was thinking about what I might make with it, I started to drape myself in the fabric. I was like, ooh, this is going to be a one shoulder dress for sure. And I've worn it a couple of times over Christmas. And again, people saying, wow, where did you get your dress? And I can say, I made it. And it just feels so good. It was a challenge, this one for sure, because I had to, you know, there's a zip on the side of it. I was unpicking it and re-sewing it and unpicking it. And the fabric was getting kind of weak because I was doing that. I couldn't unpick it any more than I had done already, but I felt really good in that dress. I look forward to wearing it again at another special event. And that brings me to my last item that I've sewn in my first year of sewing. And it is this cape. I bought this fabric at the Knitting and Stitching show in Belfast. And at the time, I thought I was going to make another coat just like the one on Tallulah here. But when I started putting the fabric on myself, I was like, ooh, this could be like a cape. I love a cape. So again, I self-drafted this with the help of basing it off another cape I had. And I've been using the last few projects, like for this dress, and for this, I started to use my new overlocker from Janome. The finish with the overlocker has just elevated everything so much. But I love that cape now, and it's such, again, it's this dramatic showstopper that people say to me, where did you get it? I made it. So I think that sums up everything I made in my first year of sewing. So if you're thinking about taking up this skill, try to borrow a machine first, take up a couple of classes if you can. There's so much on YouTube, my goodness. I think one of my favorite channels for sewing is Jess Dang, but there's endless videos. Like, I mean, there's nothing you cannot learn about sewing, I think, from being online. Oh, Cornelius Quiring as well, fantastic, explains things so well, his videos are amazing. I myself have been using a Janome machine, both my sewing machine and my overlocker. Such workhorses, they've really worked well throughout the year, and I'm so looking forward to using them again in the next year to create more fabulous things. That's it for today's video. I do hope you enjoyed this one and maybe got inspired. And I'll see you again next week for another video. Take care. Bye bye.